The film I chose was Beetlejuice. It is a horror comedy. It was released on March 30th, 1988. The film companies were the Geffen Company and Warner Brothers. The producers were Michael Bender, Larry Wilson, and Richard Hashimoto. The director was Tim Burton, and the screenplay writers were Michael McDowell and Warren Scarron. Thomas E. Ackerman was the cinematographer, and the primary actors were Michael Keaton, Alec Baldwin, Gina Davis, and Winona Ryder. It cost $15 million to produce the film, and it has generated $74 million since. The film's main characters are Adam and Barbara Maitland, Lydia Deetz, and Beetlejuice. The setting of the film is a country home in Connecticut, and to summarize the plot, the spirits of a dead couple, in an attempt to drive out the new living inhabitants of their home, hire a charismatic demon hiding bad intentions to do the work for them. The film's primary message revolves around accepting others for their differences. The primary conflict in this film is between the living and the dead. Adam and Barbara feel as though the living are invading their home, and the Deetzes feel as though the dead are tormenting them and need to move on. After finding a common enemy, Beetlejuice, they realize that the living and the dead can coexist even with all their quirks and are happy in the end. For symbolism, Beetlejuice himself is a symbol of general evil and chaos. He is a universal evil to every character in the film. His actions put the living and the dead through a troubling experience together, and as a result, both parties end up stronger and happier in the end after they defeat him. His presence helped the characters realize that there is no point in being enemies. To characterize the dialogue is comparable with the projected characters. Beetlejuice is a very off-the-wall character. He is a demon, so he's constantly saying offensive or shocking things for the sake of comedic relief. Lydia speaks in a very monotone voice to express her disinterest with life. For sets, costumes, and makeup, Adam and Barbara's clothes are plain and dull. They're meant to be an average couple, and their clothing reflects that. Lydia is depressed, so she wears stereotypical gothic black clothing throughout the film. When Beetlejuice attempts to marry Lydia, she is seen in a scarlet red wedding gown, and this is a reference to the famous superstition, married in red, better off dead. Beetlejuice often wears tacky clothing because many of his ideas and comments are also in poor taste. Characters that are dead still bear scars or wounds that caused their death. For example, Juno, Adam and Barbara's caseworker, is seen with a slit throat from either a tracheotomy because she is a smoker or a suicide. For camera shots, there is a great example of forced perspective used in the opening scene, and forced perspective is a technique used in film to either make small objects look bigger on camera or big objects look smaller. What looks to be a normal aerial shot is used as the camera moves over a town, but at the end of the shot, a spider crawls over a house and someone picks up the spider. The camera zooms out and the town is revealed to be a model town. For sound effects and music, the music in the opening scene of the film is very intense, unsettling, and meant to invoke fear in the audience. This music sets the bizarre tone for the film and keeps the audience on their toes as they are unsure of what is to come. For lighting and use of graphics, this film is mainly shot with low-key lighting. There is no extreme contrast in any of the scenes, be it in the backgrounds or the characters. Characters are often lit by a single source of light coming from either the back or the side of the characters. And this type of lighting makes the film look dark, helping to establish a darker tone throughout the film. For my added information of interest, Michael Keaton improvised 90% of his lines in this film. And while this was Michael Keaton's favorite film of his own, Alec Baldwin dislikes the film and was very unhappy with his performance. And as a joke, Tim Burton suggested the film be titled Scared Sheetless and was horrified when the studio actually considered using it. And for the clip I chose to show, it's the scene where Adam and Barbara tell Juno that they plan to scare the living out of their house. When Juno asks what they plan to do to scare them, they show her exactly that. Adam and Barbara take turns molding their faces to look horrifying and grotesque, and it's really cool to watch those transformations happen. The clay sculptures they used to make Adam and Barbara's scary faces took 1 week to construct, and I believe the transformation itself was filmed with stop motion. The budget for visual effects in this film was only $1 million, so this led Tim Burton to make the effects look as tacky and cheap and B-movie as possible. Usually for a critique on a horror movie, one would want to pick the scariest scene, and while Beetlejuice is technically a horror film, it's not exactly scary in the traditional sense. The scene is probably the scariest in the film just because of the effects used on Adam and Barbara's faces, and it shows off the general style of visual effects used in the film, so that's why I chose it. Thank you.